What's happening with interest rates in Canada in 2022? Are they really going to rise 500%? Well, in this video, we're going to look at a Better Dwelling article that states that the National Bank of Canada is predicting interest rates to rise that much. So we're going to go through that article and make sure you stay until the end, because I'm going to tell you what that means when the Bank of Canada raises their interest rates by that much, what that means for you, the consumer, and mortgage rates. So let's get to it. Hi everybody, my name is Connie Sarvananthan, and if this is your first time to the channel, welcome, and please make sure you like and subscribe because it really helps us out. It lets us know if this is the kind of video that you're looking for, and if you'd rather see something else, please make sure you make a comment so that we can make videos that matter to you. I'm a real estate agent here in Toronto, so if you have any questions about living in Toronto, moving to Toronto, or buying and selling real estate in Toronto, please call, text, email, or WhatsApp, and we'll be sure to take care of you. So let's get right into the Better Dwelling article. I'm going to actually link down below to the full article and some other articles that have also quoted these numbers, just so you have all the references for these articles. So let's get to it. Okay, so this is the Better Dwelling report. I'm going to link to it in the video so that you can see the full report if you want to look at it. So what the Better Dwelling report says is the Bank of Canada will raise rates 500% this year to start within weeks, according to the National Bank. So what this is saying is the Better Dwelling is reporting that National Bank is saying that the Bank of Canada is going to raise their interest rates within weeks, so this month, and they're going to continue to raise those interest rates. So before we get into the article, I just want to make sure everybody's clear on the two different banks we're talking about. The National Bank is a consumer bank, so it's like Bank of Montreal, TD, it's a consumer bank. And what the National Bank is saying is that the Bank of Canada, which is Canada's bank, so it's the government bank that sets monetary policy, is going to be raising its rates, and that's what they're saying is going to go up by 500%. So the Bank of Canada sets its overnight rate, and that overnight rate really dictates what happens with the prime rate, which is the bank's rate, and then the prime rates is what affects us as consumers. So the prime rate is usually used to determine our mortgages or other loans that we have with the banks. So what they're saying is the Bank of Canada is going to raise its rate by 500%, which is the overnight rate. So let's get more into details of that. So Canada's central bank is about to So the National Bank of Canada has forecasted that interest rates will rise over the next few weeks to combat inflation, and Canadians should expect interest rates to rise 500% this year. So that means that the National Bank sees interest rates doing a steep climb this year, and they expect it to start within weeks in the first quarter, and they expect the forecast is in the first quarter, they're going to raise it by 25 basis points, and this would bring the overnight rate to 0.5 or double the current level. So right now, the overnight rate is 0.25. And what they're expecting is by the end of the month, it's going to be double, which is it's going to move to 0.5. And then they're expecting throughout 2022, they're expecting 5 more interest rate hikes. And so by the end of the year, the overnight rate should be 1.5%, which is 500% higher than the current level. And this is being done to dampen inflation. So right now, the overnight rate, so the Bank of Canada rate is 0.25. And what they are expecting is it to increase over 5 different rate hikes over 2022 to 1.5%. So 0.25 to 1.5% is a 500% increase. And then they're also expecting interest rates to rise in 2023 but they're only expecting 0.25 in all of 2023, which would bring the overnight rate, so again, the Bank of Canada rate, to 1.75%. So that's the prediction. So what exactly does that mean for you, the consumer? Well, let's look at some historical information that will give us a good idea. So I also wanted to show another article which kind of supports the same thing. This is from Bloomberg, and Bloomberg is quoting economists at JP Morgan that expect the Bank of Canada will raise its benchmark interest rates at its January 26th meeting ahead of January 26th meeting. And basically what they are saying is that it's going to be raising its benchmark rate 25 basis points to 0.5%, and that they expect 5 rate hikes this year, which would push the benchmark rate to 1.5% by year end. So even though the other article from Better Dwelling said it was from the National Bank of Canada, JP Morgan also supports this. So this isn't a one-off thing. There's several people are expecting rate hikes. It's really a matter of when those rate hikes are happening and how much they are going to come into play. But right now there is an expectation that they're going to raise significantly. And so again, we're at 0.25% and they are expecting it to rise 500% to that 1.5%. So that's that. I also wanted to show you the Bank of Canada website, just so you have a source to look at more information. Okay, so I'm on Moneywise right now. And again, I'll put this link in the video, but this is showing historically what the overnight Bank of Canada rate has been, and then how that reflects in the prime rate. So with the prime rate, usually when you get a mortgage, it'll be prime plus something. So let's say the prime rate so the Bank of Canada rate was 0.25, so that means the prime rate is 2.45. And so your mortgage could be at 2.45, or it could be prime plus something. So it could be 2.45 plus 1%. So your mortgage would have been at 3.45. That's an example, but that's basically how it works. It's always prime, and prime is the benchmark, and then it's plus, minus, or flat to prime. And so that's prime when the overnight rate, the Bank of Canada rate, is 0.25. Now, if this jumps to 0.5, which is what happened in July 2015, the prime rate went to 2.7. So it jumped from 2.45 to 2.7. If it goes all the way to 1.5, which is what they are expecting by the end of 2022, so that's the National Bank of Canada is expecting that, and also there's JP Morgan did a similar article, which I'll link to, that says they're also expecting Bank of Canada to raise it to 1.5 by the end of 2022. So if we look historically, in July 2018, the Bank of Canada rate was 1.5 and the prime rate was 3.7. So that really gives you a good indication of how it can affect consumer rates. So if we're at 2.45 right now, it could go up to 3.7 as a benchmark. And the way that the prime rate, so the Bank of Canada sets the overnight rate, and then prime is set by the banks. And individual banks can set their own rates, but they're all usually aligned. So that's really what happens. And as you can see, it can be a significant jump. And so affordability is definitely going to be affected. And this is definitely going to affect the housing market because, first of all, affordability is going to be affected. And so, the higher the interest rates, the higher the payments, which means your ability to afford something is going to go lower or the amount you can afford is going to go lower because your payments are going to be higher. So affordability is going to be definitely affected, which generally you would think is going to affect the overall housing market. But this housing market has been so unpredictable, we're not 100% sure. But that's definitely something to keep in mind as we move forward. So this is the Bank of Canada website. So it's bankofcanada.ca, and you can find out all kinds of things about the Bank of Canada. But policy interest rates. So the bank carries out monetary policy by influencing short-term interest rates. It does this by adjusting the target for the overnight rate on 8 fixed dates each year. So when people are saying that the interest rate is going to rise over the next year, there are 8 fixed dates that the Bank of Canada will announce interest rate changes. And what you can see here is since 2020, the overnight rate has stayed flat at 0.25. So this is what they are expecting to go to 0.50 by the end of January, and then eventually to 1.5% by the end of the year. So again, this is a great resource if you want to look more into it and get more information about what the overnight rate means and how that affects the prime rate and then eventually the consumer rates. Okay, so the last article that I'm going to link to is this article from the Toronto Star, and says interest rates are going up. Here's how to protect your wealth when they do. And it's a good little article just saying that if interest rates are going up, then you really want to look at your debt load and make sure that if you have anything that can be affected by these interest rates, that you are managing it accordingly. So perhaps there's a way to lock in at a lower rate. Perhaps there's a way to refinance. Perhaps there's a way to ensure that, if the rates go up, your payments aren't going up, or that you can do it in a way that you can manage it and afford it. And so when you look at your debt load, it's things like credit, lines of credit, credit cards, mortgages, and car payments, just to mention the few. Anything where you are paying an interest rate, you really want to pay attention to that, because again, if the Bank of Canada overnight rate changes, then there's a domino effect on how that's going to affect you. So that should cover everything. But like I said, I'm going to link to all these articles so you can read it in full. And then if you have any questions, feel free to reach out as well. So that's it. Thank you for joining me. It looks like, if history proves to be similar, if we do go up to 1.5% in the Bank of Canada rate, then the prime is going to be at about 3.5%, which means your mortgage rates will be at around 3.5% or higher, depending on what kind of mortgage rate you get. So what does this mean for housing? Well, typically it means that your affordability is going to go down, because the higher the interest rate, the less you're going to be able to afford. It will probably mean that there will be less bidding wars. Whether this slows down the market or not, that's still to be seen, but it will affect people's affordability, which should slow it down somewhat. But this is a crazy market and things are not predictable. And even Omicron has affected the market in that we are having a very, very active winter season, which nobody predicted, because Omicron has kind of kept it fueled and active. The other big thing that I'll say is that if you already have a locked in lower rate, it usually lasts for a certain period of time, whether it's 30, 60, 90 days. And you may see a rush of buyers who are trying to lock into that lower rate. So that might fuel some activity too. So Q1 and spring are probably still going to be hot. And then as these interest rates go in, you may see a tempering of the market. So that's it. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. If you have any comments, I would love to hear them below. And if you have anything about moving to Toronto, living in Toronto, buying and selling in Toronto, please feel free to reach out, call, text, email, or WhatsApp. And make sure you like and subscribe, because that really helps us out, and it also lets us know what kind of videos you like to see. So thanks for joining, and we'll see you next time.